go. All righty. Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the first Catalyst conversation session that we're having this 2021-2022 academic year. We've done them this is our third year now, and they've kind of morphed in what they looked like over the last couple of years. But I'm excited that this is kind of our initial one for this semester and this year and then we'll have 3 more, which I'll be able to announce what the topics are and who's presenting in the next couple weeks, hopefully, once we finalize that. So I'm really thrilled that we have some people joining us today. And kind of before I get too far into it, I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Brianna Hughes. Last name was formerly Richardson. I don't know if anybody kind of knows me by that name, but I'm a doctoral candidate with Dalhousie School of Nursing. And I've been with Dalhousie, this will be my 5th year, I'm pretty sure, my final year too. I'm setting those hopes in and visualizing graduation. But I've had the pleasure of getting to work fairly closely with the Center for Transformative Nursing and Health Research, kind of mostly with this role too, helping to organize the Catalyst conversations. And then I've been involved in the past in the Student Society and many committees and all that. So it was nice to be able to get to facilitate our discussion today. And I'll share my screen. I'll share the PowerPoint that I created. It's all of 8 slides, so there's not much, but yeah, just a little visual and something to guide us along. Can everyone see that okay? Awesome. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is the first Catalyst conversation for this year, and we decided to kind of frame it around pursuing scholarship during a pandemic, which I know you've probably been in other learning sessions or different educational spaces that covered this as well, because we're almost coming onto that, just shy of 2 years, I guess, in the next couple of months of living in this pandemic. So I'm sure this kind of conversation has come up a lot even before, but just wanted another opportunity for us to have a little bit of a check-in today in this nice kind of small informal group. I know I'll kind of say one thing that I've missed a lot because of the pandemic, and I don't live in Nova Scotia anymore. I live in Prince Edward Island, which I'll get to in a little bit. But I find I really miss those informal opportunities to just chat with my peers, like getting to see you in the hall or in the lineup at, I think it's Bites, where the dental school, going to get a delicious samosa for lunch and just getting to have that nice informal catch up and see how you're doing, what research are you doing, or what work are you involved in. And there's a lot of learning and there's a lot of social support that comes from those informal meetings. So I kind of wanted to emulate that here today. So we'll see. So I hope everybody, either you have a coffee or a water, drink of choice, or some lunch maybe, and we can kind of make that happen for this virtual experience. Oh, bear with me. Awesome. So just to kind of, maybe before I dive into this, actually, do you want to introduce yourselves as well, just so I kind of know who's here, where you're at in your academic journey, I guess, and then that way we can kind of hit the ground running with our discussion today. Maybe Jamlyn, you're right there beside me, so I'll pass it to you first, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Jamlyn. I'm in my first semester of first year of the full-time nurse practitioner program, Master's in Nursing. I've been an RN practicing kind of all over acute care, some emerge, and then most recently community health nursing in the Northwest Territories for the last 5 years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting comfortable. I don't think you actually get comfortable while studying, because it's always something new, but I'm so far enjoying the program. So yeah, nice to meet you.
Good. Welcome. Thank you for joining us too. Awesome. Sarah, you're there next, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, so I am an RN practicing in Nova Scotia. I did my undergrad actually in PEI, and I am from PEI.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
I'm
so
at
but
UPI right
I'm
now.
actually from PEI as well.
wow.
I didn't know that. Oh, awesome. We just get to have a little
Awesome.
island reconnection. Okay. Tara, I hope maybe you have some sort of connection. If not, you will after this. So awesome. You keep going, Sarah.
Yeah, so I'm currently sorry, someone's at my door. Can
That's
we
okay. Yeah. You take that and I'll circle
okay,
back.
one moment.
Yeah. Awesome. Tara, if you're free and able to jump in and kind of introduce yourself, you're welcome to now, but no worries if you're kind of multitasking.
Yeah, no, sure. I have a minute here. So I am from PEI as well. So I was kind of
Oh,
laughing in the background.
really?
So yeah, but I currently reside in New Brunswick. I moved here just before the pandemic, I guess. So yeah, I'm also in my Master's of Nursing program, the NP stream. I'm doing it part-time and I'm in my second year. Yeah, my background is more critical care. However, in the last 2 years, I started doing primary care work in northern Manitoba. So I travel out there probably about once every couple months. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. I feel like we've got a really, I don't know, well-aligned group or just good connections kind of from the nurse practitioner point and the PEI connection completely across the board, which is great. And as well, Northern Nursing. And Sarah's back. So we'll circle back to Sarah just to hear a little bit more about her experience or where she's at now.
Yeah, so before the pandemic hit, I was working in a clinic with like sexual health. And then when the pandemic hit, I moved into working with like COVID swabbing and all of that, and then moved into working in public health. Yeah, and so I'm currently in my third year of my master's in epidemiology.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I finished all my courses and now I'm waiting for my data to complete my thesis. So
Good. That's awesome. Okay. I can't wait to, as we go along, dive in a little bit more to get to see, I mean, certainly your experience, Sarah, with working as an RN so much during the pandemic and very much like front lines of that role. And I'm not sure if Tara or Jamelyn, either of you had also done that. But yeah, I'm excited to get to hear about how that experience may have been. And then as well, definitely, I mean, just because similarly, I'm kind of with the research stream, just the experience of, how things may have been delayed. I don't know if you had that same experience, Sarah, with your Masters of Epi and kind of waiting on data. I don't know if the pandemic kind of impacted that at all, but as we'll get into it, to some degree, no matter what, the pandemic definitely impacted our focus and our, what we were used to, how we were used to participating in scholarly activities and all of that. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in a moment. And this is great. I love the PEI connection there. Have we met? It seems strange that none of us have met, to be honest. That's okay.
No.
We're friends now. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I just kind of popped this slide in here just to talk a bit about like the pre-pandemic graduate studies experience. Just if we can remember what life was like before then. And Sarah, so you were in your Masters of Epi before the pandemic started, right? Okay. And Tara, you're your second year. So did you start when like in 2020?
Yeah, I did. So unfortunately, it was kind of right at the start of everything. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you have a little bit of taste of maybe what graduate studies was like with the pandemic kind of looming over it. And then Jamelyn, you dove right in the thick of it. So I'm excited to talk about that in a little bit too. But as you know, so kind of pre-pandemic, and I know this differs a bit, like the master's of the nurse practitioner stream, the first point there has like varying degrees of structure. I know the nurse practitioner stream is much more structured than the research streams of masters of nursing or masters of epi might be. I know for kind of initially that first year for the research streams, first or second year is focusing on coursework, so that's nice and structured, but then it can kind of you end up going into a little bit of an abyss where you're much more independent and working on your project, and sometimes in a bit of a silo, unless you've got a really great research lab or team, or student group, student support around you. And my experience isn't with the NP program, but it's from what I know, there are more courses, so it is more structured throughout the whole program. But I mean, we have people who are full-time, and then also those that are part-time, and so how it kind of, while you're not together always as a group, I think that it does allow for some varying degrees, I guess, of structure still in the NP stream. And yeah, lots of independence, that second point there. But then you also do, kind of moving into that third point, you generally, if you are connected with the campus, so if you do, you're not a student by distance, you do have lots of on-campus learning and social opportunities that you can attend and see, and kind of like those informal meetings at coffee shops and stuff like that I was mentioning kind of as we began. And I'll comment on that in a moment, just whenever I talk about my transition to moving back to BEI. But and then your off-campus life as well. Since we're all in a graduate studies program, you have your lives established outside of graduate studies as well, and many of you have been working clinically in various different settings and provinces even too, and so getting you have lots of relationships outside campus, and so balancing all of that, your kind of work, social, and personal life can sometimes be a struggle, but generally we're pretty well masters at spinning all those plates at this point. And then I did put at the bottom there, generally there's an abundance of opportunities to grow scholarship. Kind of loose with that, but I know like pre-pandemic life, at least again, speaking just from my experience with the research stream, there was lots of conferences that you could attend as a trainee, and you could present posters or meet people that are in your field, whether they're other students, trainees, or if they're kind of established scholars. And the picture on the left here was from the World's Challenge competition that happens at Western University, and myself and Rachel Olivier, who is another doctoral student at Dow, and then also Justine Dahl, who was a PhD in health student, but I should call her Dr. Dahl now because she's all done and graduated. But we were successful in winning the Dalhousie competition for World's Challenge. So we had basically pitched this idea for a text message based educational program that could improve mothers' well-being and their knowledge after they've had a baby. So in that first 6 weeks after having a baby. And we got this great experience to get to go to Western and lay it all out on the table and have a competition with other students across the world. So that I didn't touch base to what happened with the World's Challenge once the pandemic set in, but definitely not the same experience as we were so fortunate to have. And then like conferences and a lot of things were canceled or a lot of things turned virtual. So we really did quite the pivot. And there's some positives and negatives kind of with that, but I'll just take a little pause and see, does anyone want to share anything about, your pre-pandemic graduate studies experience, or you're kind of thinking of getting into graduate studies maybe? And no pressure to share, but I just figured I'd let you jump in if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just say that it, like when I first started in 2019, there was definitely, a lot more of sense of like, you got to know very quickly the people who were in your program because you were there physically with them, like for classes every day. And yes, not so much now, that things have kind of moved to online. There's just that a little bit of distance that comes with seeing somebody from across the screen.
Yeah. Which is too bad. I think we've gotten better at it, at least. And if you have good communication or good video platforms like we do right now with Zoom, like we have a good connection where it's not too choppy, so we're not speaking over each other. We've kind of adapted to be able to have good conversation in these virtual ways, but it still isn't the same as in person. And so many questions come up throughout sitting in class, really, that you just afterwards kind of debrief with your peers that are there to be like, okay, did I get this right? Or is this for the assignment? This is what we have to do. And that's a little less possible when you just kind of click end meeting, leave session, whatever it is, that however you exit your online class, or maybe you're not even coming together synchronously as well too. And it can feel definitely a little like much more isolating. And having the experience of both, you had your 2019, you were there with your peers, and then now to be a little more isolated is tough. Sarah, do you have like a research lab that you're connected with?
My my supervisor is Dr. Robin Urquhart.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So yeah, when I first started, her main office was in the Victoria building at the VG, and now she's moved to full time in the department, like our department at Dalhousie. But
Great.
yeah.
Oh, great. I don't know. I know the name for sure. And I think I don't know if you know Sydney Breniel. She's in.
I do know of her. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. I think she's worked on projects with your supervisor too, okay. Or I've definitely heard that name come from. I know Sydney's doing a lot of epi related stuff as well, research. So yeah.
Yes, I remember seeing her one day in the office of one of our like data analysts.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Yeah, but Robin does research a lot around like knowledge translation and cancer survivorship.
Awesome. Oh, that's really cool. So important. And knowledge translation, it seems like it's leading the research movement, really, but it needs to happen because all of this good evidence that gets created needs to actually get into clinical practice. So it's great to have leaders, and it's great to be a part of that as well too, with the work that you're doing. Awesome. Jamelyn and Tara, do either of you want to share about pre-pandemic experiences? No worries if not. I can.
I have 3 classes this semester. One of them is in person, and I'm very grateful for it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, sometimes you just those small, quick interactions, you actually pick up so much from, as just happened in the last 2 days that we had class. So yeah, I'm very appreciative for the in-person classrooms. I agree. I think we've come a long way as being able to have classes virtually, but it's just nice to have that human connection in person.
Definitely. Awesome. Okay, I won't call on you, Tara. I'll just keep going, and you feel free to jump in if at any point. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to look down. I did make some notes too, just to keep me on task here. And this I will ask for your, input and discussion with this point too, but just kind of thinking about experiences during the pandemic. So, at the time that the pandemic was labeled that by the WHO, for myself, I was actually already working from home for a year. So I had been living in Halifax and completing I started with master's and then went into doctoral studies with School of Nursing all through Dal. So I had been based in Halifax and really got to have those awesome experiences with my peers, going through courses and really stressing a lot through those courses too. And then kind of moving on to the different, markers that you have to meet and the different requirements throughout those programs. But then in 2018, I moved back to Prince Edward Island in order to, my partner got a job here, so him and I got to move home, and then I was able to really position my research to target the PEI population too. So that was really exciting for me, just kind of personally. But I did find it really difficult of a transition at that point. When I moved, so I had a great supervisor who has a lab at the IWK Health Center, and we all had space there to come and work, and there was lots of trainees. We actually were in the same lab as Sydney. Sorry, these are the times that we're living in. Can you hear me now? Is it okay? Okay, I think my Wi-Fi is not great. I might have jinxed us because I said we. Oh, okay. Okay, 1 second. My Wi-Fi isn't great right now, so I'm going to try and hotspot. So just bear with me. Okay. Is this a little bit better? Doesn't seem to be.